so much. Thank you. Hey, what the flick? My name is Joshua Gibbs. Thank you very much for considering me for your television and movie correspondent. I love television. I love movies, and I would be honored if I could be your correspondent. But you wanted to hear a movie review, so I'm going to give you a movie review. I am going to review one of the greatest action movies of all time. You've probably already guessed it by now. It is the 1993 action film Demolition Man, starring Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, and Sandra Bullock. I love this movie. This is one of those movies that I call stop and flick. It's as you're flipping through the channels, if it's on, I'm going to stop and watch it. Other movies in this category, Shawshank Redemption, any of the Star Wars movies except episodes 1, 2, or 3, and The Birdcage. Love The Birdcage. I grew up in South Florida. It brings back a lot of memories, plus Nathan Lane is brilliant, so just don't get me started. But Demolition Man. Okay. The movie is set in 1996, even though the movie came out in 1993. Sylvester Stallone is the ham-fisted name John Spartan. It just doesn't get any more heavy than that. Right off the bat, once it's revealed that that's his name, you already know what you're in for. So, John Spartan is the good guy cop, and he is set on a path to go get his arch nemesis, Simon Phoenix. Also a great bad guy name, played by Wesley Snipes. Interestingly enough, Jackie Chan was originally supposed to play the bad guy. He wasn't really into it, having the Asian guy play the villain, so he drops out. Wesley Snipes comes in. So Wesley Snipes has essentially taken over Los Angeles, which has been turned into this nightmarish hellscape of a place. Turns out they weren't too far off from what it's like in real life. But seriously, folks. So he's taken over Los Angeles. He won't allow policemen. He won't allow postmen. But unfortunately, a bus driver didn't get the message, so he has taken bus passengers hostage. So Sylvester Stallone goes in to try to rescue them. They have a little quarrel, and the building ends up exploding. Now, seemingly, all of the hostages are murdered. Right after that, apparently Sylvester Stallone gets the absolute worst lawyer in history who couldn't even figure out that he was in no way responsible for the death of these civilians, and he is sentenced to cryo prison, which is the future's way of dealing with prisoners and criminals. Instead of putting you in an actual jail cell or sending you off to the prison state of New York, what they end up doing is putting you in this neat little ice cube where you're all naked and hung up for display in Planet Hollywoods for people to look at. So they do that to Sylvester Stallone and to Wesley Snipes, and they are supposedly set to be in there for, I think, 70-something years. But cut to the year 2032, which has become a very calm, relaxed, utopian type of environment, and everybody wears weird kimono-looking outfits, and everybody's nice to each other. There's no crime, there's no violence, there's no hitting, there's no aggressiveness. Everybody is very passive and seemingly very happy. And for some reason, Simon Phoenix is up for parole, and he is released. Released is maybe not the right word. He escapes by murdering a whole bunch of people and starts to go on a rampage all throughout the city. So how do you stop a psychopath who is going through your city? Well, as they say in the movie, send a maniac to catch one. And so they unfreeze the only man who is able to apprehend Simon Phoenix, and that is John Spartan, Sylvester Stallone. He's unfrozen from cryo sleep and set on a course to try and recapture Simon Phoenix. Now, one might ask, well, why was Simon Phoenix released in the first place? Turns out that the guy who actually runs this utopian society wanted to set him free to cause crime and destruction and havoc simply so that people would submit even more to him and that he could sort of remold the society even further down the rabbit hole into hippiedom. I don't know if he wanted to go like a full-on Woodstock kind of thing and just really kind of put everybody under mind control or what he was trying to do. But spoiler alert, if you release a psychopath and try to make him do the things you want to do, it's not going to go so well for you, as it doesn't work out well for Mr. Cocteau, the guy who's running everything, or at least he thinks he is. So you get Sylvester Stallone trying to go after Wesley Snipes, and he's having a hard time because he's a cop. He's used to dealing with things the cop way. And unfortunately, times have changed, so he can't, there's no guns, there's no car chases anymore, so all the cars are self-driving, so he's trying to get used to this new way of doing things. And in his attempts to try to capture Simon Phoenix, he says we have to do things old school. So they end up going into the sewers because he discovers that there's a resistance movement, people who are starving and living underground, run by another 90s relic, Dennis Leary. Dennis Leary even goes on one of his patented rants that he was so famous for in the 90s, and it's great. He's in his glory here. And it's very nice to see, even as a comic relief and just somebody who is the antithesis of everything authoritarian, which is exactly what he represents in real life. And that's why it was so great to see him. So Sylvester Stallone teams up with him. He and Sandra Bullock are starting to get down there. What I liked about her character, first of all, supreme hotness. Sandra Bullock was in her prime. This was a year before Speed came out, and she would blow up into to be this great actress and stuff. But again, super hot. She's obsessed with the 90s. She's got a Lethal Weapon poster in her office, and she loves that kind of stuff. So it was just great to see her in this role before she would start to become famous and start doing a lot more serious movies and stuff like that. So cut back to her getting with Sylvester Stallone, trying to hunt down Simon Phoenix. Since we're trying to keep this short, let's just say time passes and things go on. They have a lot of great interactions. Another thing I like about this movie is that there's so many good verbal back and forths between Stallone and Snipes. They have some really good action sequences together. There's some witty banter between the two, and it just makes it a lot of fun, and it keeps the pace of the movie going along. The movie is a little under 2 hours long, which even was rare for 90s movies. But it keeps it going at such a good pace that you never really get bored. It doesn't give you time to kind of slow down a little bit too much. And before you ask, yes, there is gratuitous nudity. It's a very quick shot, but it's a 90s action movie. They had to have it. I think it was mandated by Hollywood law or something like that. But anyway, moving on. So the movie finally concludes with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes having a confrontation at the cryo prison as Wesley Snipes is trying to release more and more prisoners so that he can take over society and run things after he murders Raymond Cocteau and has his body thrown in a fire. And so now he's going to be the guy who runs everything. But of course, Sylvester Stallone's the hero. John Spartan stops Simon Phoenix. They have a great hand-to-hand combat match inside the cryo prison. He suffers a very, very ludicrous and insanely Hollywood-style death, which is mandated for all great villains. And that's the other thing that I like about this movie. It hits all the right wickets for an action film. You've got great characters, you've got ridiculous names, you've got great action sequences, you've got fantastic car chases, you've got shootouts, you've got sort of judo, because Wesley Snipes is an accomplished martial artist, so that's what he uses to his advantage. And you've got the villain dying a very dramatic death, which is exactly what you want to see. You've got slow motion running, you've got explosions, you've got slow motion running in front of explosions, you've got Sylvester Stallone jumping and going, as he will do in every movie ever, until the end of time. I think that's in his contract. So, and everything is wrapped up at the end. He and Sandra Bullock end up together, and everybody's happy. Society kind of just... it kind of crumbles, really. Everything they know and everything that they saw was built on a lie, and now they're not really sure what to do, but everyone just kind of says, we'll figure it out. Okay, I guess we'll just figure it out as we go now. Everything that we ever knew is gone, so we'll just have to start from scratch now. But again, a 90s movie. There's so many plot holes that are left open. We could do an entire other video talking about things that are just completely left open, like his family. He mentions that his wife is dead, and then it's like, well, okay, let's not talk about that anymore, even though he has virtual sex with Sandra Bullock later. I guess he wasn't too broken up about his wife or his kid and stuff like that. Wait a minute, these things aren't even talked about anymore. But that's okay. That's what makes a 90s action movie great. It focuses on what it needs to focus on and doesn't concern itself with trying to wrap up every little plot point. So if you haven't already seen Demolition Man, I highly suggest go to Netflix, go to Hulu Plus, go to Amazon Video, go to Blockbuster Video, wipe the dust off the cover, put it into your VHS player, and watch it right now. Highly recommended. Demolition Man, one of the greatest action movies ever. So thanks again, What the Flick. My name is Joshua Gibbs. Hopefully I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.